Well, my general research is in the area of plant breeding and crop improvement, and we use both a mixture of very traditional, conventional techniques and some genetic engineering techniques to complement it with. The basis for sustaining increased populations is increased food production. And furthermore, as the population enters its next phase of growth, not only must we increase food production, we must increase it on the same amount of land, the same amount of water, and same level of resources, because we don't have that much more arable land and water is scarce and whatnot. So we need higher yielding crops that make much more efficient use of resources. Historically, as one of the big yield increases has come from what a plant breeder would call genetic modification. If you actually go back to Charles Darwin in The Origin of Species, he noted that people have modified plants so much that most people can't even recognize the wild ancestors of our modern crops. So if you go and buy produce at a supermarket, none of that would be found in the wild. It's all been heavily modified by conventional means. So in a very broad sense, that's genetic modification. In the sense that it's used in today, it actually refers to genetic engineering. And the difference there is that in genetic engineering, we take specific genes from pretty much any source and stick them into the crop to give it a trait that it did not have before, as opposed to crossing two things and seeing it was almost sort of like the lottery to see what would come out of it. The layperson needs to know first and foremost that they are as safe as any other food on the market, if not safer. They have been through, they're the most extensively tested foods in the history of humankind, period. And not only are they tested in the US, they have to be separately tested in Canada and in Europe and in Japan and China and Korea. So the level of safety assurance is really about as high as it can get. And secondly, that as we move into the next billion increase in our population, they're going to need to be one component of our strategies to meet that if we want to have a cleaner planet and food that we can afford, and the track record of these things too. Remember, we're starting the 15th year of their production. We have information from over 2 billion acres in 29 countries where these have been produced, and the track record is that they have turned out to be super environmentally friendly.